Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the Tundra Dudes 34 YouTube channel. So I've been working on a video since just before Christmas. As we just enter into the 2025 model year, I would think a mid-cycle refresh is coming within the next 2 model years for the Toyota Tundra. We've already had the new generation Toyota Tundra for 4 model years now, including 2025. So mid-cycle refresh, definitely within the next few model years. But we don't have any specific real answers on that yet from Toyota. This is all just a guessing game at this point, of course, but I figured at this time we could go over some things we want to see changed, improved upon, or stay the same. I have some opinions I want to show you, and of course, please go down in the comments below and let me know if you agree, disagree, or have anything else that I didn't bring up. Okay, so before we get into more general things about the Toyota Tundra in a whole, I want to talk about 2 specific trims of Tundra that I feel could use a little change going forward if they want to see more success. And I'm talking about the lowest trim of Tundra and the highest trim of Tundra, the SR and the Capstone. Let's focus on the SR first. Now, this is the work fleet truck. This is the Toyota Tundra people buy if, say, they own a business, landscaping, construction. They don't care about any extras. They just want the truck to do what it needs to do for their business or whatever they use their truck for on a daily basis. Now, you can get the SR in a lot of different configurations, but it is missing some things that kind of make you scratch your head. And it's also missing something from the second generation that I feel should come back ASAP and only be available on the SR. So as far as configurations go with the SR, you could go double cab, which is the smaller cab, 6.5-foot bed, or the 8-foot bed. You could go crew max with the 5.5-foot bed. One configuration you cannot get on SR is the crew max with the 6.5-foot bed, which I feel like would make a lot of sense when it comes to something that will be bought probably for a small business, landscaping or a construction company, something like that. Put the entire crew inside your cab, still have the bed for all of your gear, and then tow a trailer or whatever you need. Everything that has to do with getting the job done with your truck as a utility should be included on this truck, including making standard, it's not even available, making standard the bed lights and the outlet, giving the outlet more volts and wattage to be able to use it for whatever you may need on the work site. I think if Toyota focuses heavily on the SR, you would see a lot of success with it. Also, in today's SR, it's a detuned I-Force engine, 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, detuned from the SR5 and up I-Force engine. They should make it just the regular I-Force engine. Don't take away from the SR. And the SR is obviously the cheapest Toyota Tundra you could buy as far as starting price, around the high 30s to low 40s for that starting price for this truck before any discounts or anything. But again, I think because of what this truck is supposed to be, they should focus more on the utility aspect of the truck. Don't worry about big screens. You can't get that in there. Don't worry about soft text. You can't get that in there anyway. But things like bed lights and outlet, every cab configuration possible, including that crew max with the 6.5-foot bed, and making the regular I-Force engine available instead of a detuned version. Last but not least, on the SR, I think they should bring back the 6-seater option. In the second generation, you could get the SR with the 5-seater option, or you could get it with the 6-seater option. So that third seat in the middle can fold down and be a center console if you want it to be, but if you have an extra person, pop it up and it's seat 6. That is something that makes a lot of sense in something like an SR. So if they focus on that, and we're starting to see more SRs on the lot than we have the past couple model years, I think that would bring a lot of success in a situation where Toyota is already selling a lot of Toyota Tundras. This could just make it even better and maybe draw some folks over from the small business world, or like I said, landscape and construction, to consider the SR Tundra if it had more options to help them with their everyday jobs. So that is the SR. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Number 2, and this has been a hot topic for a very long time, the Capstone. Sometimes the Capstones I see sitting on the lot for the entire model year. Sometimes they sell very quickly. It's hit or miss. I have yet to see a Capstone for 2025. We've been talking about on the channel when we go to these dealership walks There's been way more I-Forces than I-Force Maxes. The I-Force Maxes have come out a little bit later, so we're starting to see them hit the lot. But there are things about the Capstone people just don't understand. And one thing for me has always been how close the Capstone is to a 1794 and Platinum. Now, of course, on the Capstone, you could get the 22-inch wheels it comes with. It comes with all the features standard. You got that white and black semi-aniline leather on the inside that make it unique. You got a unique grille up front. And that's what the Capstone is. Think of Denali. It's the same idea, but it's just not different enough from the 1794 and Platinum. Now, when I look at something like, say, the 2024 1794 limited edition, which was a truck that came out 1 year, it was a numbered truck. There was only 1,500 made. And when you look at it, it has aspects of a lot of different trims. It has a little TRD Pro in it, a little Platinum, a little Capstone, and a little 1794, of course. It has unique features. For instance, saddleback leather company interior. You cannot get that on any other Tundra. Unique. So things like that in a Capstone could make it successful going forward, make it a little bit different than everything else. Now, some people will say the price is just way too high, and that's another consideration to look at when you're looking at this truck. But you got to remember, that is the top of the line when it comes to trims for Toyota Tundra. So if you go to any of the other manufacturers, their top of the line luxury trims, they're all up in that same general area. But for me, as someone that studies these Tundras hard, I got to say the Capstone, I want to see it do well, but it needs to be more different from the 1794 and Platinum. 1794 and Platinum are the two luxury trims right under Capstone, and you could do a lot more with it. In the Capstone, they're all I-Force Max, Crew Max 5.5 foot bed 4x4. You can't change that configuration. When you come down into Platinum in 1794, you could go 5.5 foot bed, 6.5 foot bed, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, I-Force Max. There's a lot of different options there, and you could still get just about the same amount of features if that's what you want, because they are luxury trims as well. So SR, we talked about what they got to do with that truck to get it where it needs to be. And Capstone, do something different. I wish the 1794 limited edition was the Capstone. It would make a lot more sense to me. But again, go down in the comments and let me know what you think. And now let's talk more general Toyota Tundra going forward. I'm going to start with one that I think everybody will agree on, and that is quality control. And I'm talking more about things like trim and interior. It's not on every Tundra that we see problems with quality control, but there are enough people out there talking about it where it has to end up in the video going forward and hoping everything moves in the right direction. I'm going to give you a quick, for instance, personally. I had a 2023 SR5 TRD off-road double cab right before I got the 1794. This truck was tip-top. Not one issue, not one rattle, no wind noise, nothing. Everything about it was top-notch. It had a lot of plastic in the interior because that's what the SR5 is, you know, mid-lower trim, but nothing creaked, no rattles, no wind noise, nothing. The price of that truck was about $57,000. It was a fully loaded double cab TRD off-road. Then I go up into the 1794, which, like we just talked about, a luxury trim Tundra. I've had it for just over 5,000 miles, and when it's about to go in for its first Toyota Care service, there's things that need to be looked at on it. Number one, I have some form of a wind noise or something coming off of the windshield. It almost sounds like a beehive. You could go watch my video when I talked about my 3-month update on the truck. I have a sticking noise coming from my headliner. My thigh extender on the driver's seat works sometimes. There's things like that along with the truck that initially, when you buy something that's $70,000, you probably don't want to be dealing with. So I think quality control needs to be something that's focused on going forward. Now, there's a couple things I always say, and I want to say it again. If you talk to owners and go back and look at old videos and stuff of late 2020 Tundras and 2021, that's end of second generation, some of them will complain about quality control, and they always call them COVID trucks. Okay, so that's kind of where this all started. Now, Toyota launched a new generation Toyota Tundra during that production shortage COVID time, which was probably the craziest time to launch a new generation. So it's the beginning of the generation, not really anymore, but we're still in the early part of new generation. I would hope that this gets buttoned up, and as we move down the road, quality control is something that is at the forefront of the focus, making this truck absolutely where it needs to be. This one always comes up when you make videos like this: pricing. What do they do about pricing? Now, here's the big difference from old generation to new generation. There's really one word: second generation, first generation, simplistic. They were simplistic trucks. If you look at the big three 10 years ago and you look at the Toyota Tundra had some features in it, but it was a pretty plain, straight to the point truck, where Ford was offering massaging seats and things like that on the inside, heated steering wheel long before Tundra. And that was the big difference. And that's why I think Toyota has been so reliable for so long, is that simple truck, straight to the point, focus on the reliability and move forward that way. Ever since we came to the new generation, where we see a lot more technology in the trucks, we saw the price skyrocket. And this is, again, just with the big three. It's not like the Toyota is super high priced and the rest of them aren't. They're all in the same area when it comes to price. If you break down trim by trim, they're all in the same area. So it's just an overall, the market needs to come down a little bit. But rarely do you see prices come back down. We're pretty much driving iPads at this point, right? There's sensors on everything. The computer is tied into absolutely everything you do in these trucks. It's not what it used to be. There's not many naturally aspirated out there anymore. Everything is a forced induction, small displacement situation, or a hybrid or electric. It's just the way it is nowadays. Now, one thing you could focus on when you talk about pricing, my hope is that the pricing doesn't keep going up and it kind of levels out and plateaus, because we've seen so much technology added to the Toyota Tundra. I mean, what more can you do? And I know that's one of those things where it's like a hold my beer situation and more technology is down the road. But I think we're at a point where let's just hold off on adding any more to that MSRP, if you know what I mean. But one thing Toyota can focus on, and we're already seeing that in 2024 and into 2025, great factory incentives, APR, customer cash, lease deals, all of that. As long as they're there, that will definitely help. And locally at dealerships, great discounts. We're starting to see that around the country. Some people still say they're not seeing any discounts. Some people still see markups. But I will tell you, there are discounts out there on Tundras. And I always like to use this as an example because it's my personal example. I saved $7,000 on my 1794 TRD off-road in the driveway. It was $70,585 and got them down to 63 and change. So there are discounts out there. And that's where I think we need to focus on. We're coming off of 2020, say mid to late 2020, into early 2023 of seeing MSRP being the best deal and markups because of what was going on in the world. And now we're trying to get back to that normal where we're starting to see, the incentives and everything like that pre-2020. So that's with pricing where they need to go. Hopefully the pricing levels out and doesn't add anymore. I'd love to see it subtract and get lower, of course. But the incentives and the stuff locally at your dealership as far as discounts, that's going to be the thing going forward that gets people into these trucks. So pricing is always on the list. So hopefully going forward, it plateaus a little bit. Now this next one's going to be depending on who you talk to, and that is design. Some people love the look of the new generation Toyota Tundra. Some people not so much. One of the focuses is always on that front end. A lot of people don't like the big grille of the new generation Toyota Tundra, but a mid-cycle refresh, I don't think you're going to see too much going on as far as changing that. But again, I think it's more specifically on what trim you select. For instance, I think the TRD Pro has a great looking front end, just the way the body color and the Heritage grille tie together. I don't think it's bad looking at all. But if you get into something with a lot of chrome or something that doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it, that might be where people are focusing and not really liking. Exterior color makes a big difference too. If you have a midnight black truck, that flows a lot better with that front end versus say something that's a lot brighter. And then you get up to the front end and you see a black or gray grille. But again, that all depends on what you guys think. People always want to see steps, better steps in the rear bumper, kind of like Chevy has, something like that going forward as far as the exterior design. I like the interior of the truck. I think it looks great. Everything in there is definitely an upgrade from the second generation, but all the buttons make sense. There's not a lot of extra buttons, and it's very easy to navigate around after you've had the truck for a while to not even look down at the buttons when you're hitting it. The 14-inch screen, I gotta say, I love the 14-inch screen. If you are someone who owns one, you probably love it. If you're someone who doesn't have one, you're probably saying there's just unnecessary to have a screen that big. But for someone like me that travels around to all these dealerships all over the place, when you have navigation like that, it's amazing. And the infotainment system is very easy to use as well. So I'm a big fan of the 14-inch screen. And to this day, people still ask, Is it distracting because that screen is so big when driving? Is it too bright? It is not distracting, and you could always mess around with the brightness if you don't like it. But overall, in design, I like the interior. Exterior, I'm actually a fan of the way the new generation Toyota Tundra looks, but I'll leave that one up to you guys. Go down in the comments. What would you do to the design of the truck going forward? All right, now we've come to the big one at the end here, and that is engine. Should Toyota change out the engine that is available and offered in the Tundra today? If you're new to Tundra, you get two options: 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, or you get a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 hybrid. Now, there are a lot of people out there that want Toyota to bring the V8 back. And one of the main things I hear all the time on the channel is how come Toyota got rid of the V8 when Ford and Chevy still offer a V8? And I think it comes down to this opinion of mine. This is not fact. This is just opinion, but let me know what you think in the comments below. So Ford and Chevy still have their V8, and they offset their numbers that they need to hit as far as emission standards and MPG by adding things like EVs and hybrids to get that manufacturer number where it needs to be, to where it makes that V8 acceptable for them. Now, many of you will say, but Toyota has a ton of hybrids and a ton of EVs, so it would be very easy for them to do that as well. Here's the main difference. And regardless if you love or hate the new generation Toyota Tundra, I want you to really pay attention to this part and let me know what you think in the comments below. The Ford brand needs the F-150 to survive. Chevy needs the Silverado to survive as a brand, right? Toyota does not need the Tundra to survive. The mindset on pickup trucks is night and day different when you talk Chevy and Ford and then bring up Toyota, okay? If the Tundra, I hope it never happens, but if the Tundra ever went away, Toyota would keep going down the road and be the #1 selling manufacturer in the world like nothing happened, because the focus of Toyota is on what I always like to say, your A to B cars, the Corolla, the Camry, the RAV4, the Highlander, stuff like that. The focus of Ford, F-150 all day long, Mustang, those are V8 options right there. And even with the V8 options, they still have the EcoBoost 3.5, the EcoBoost 2.7. There's a lot of engine options and a lot of different configurations for the Ford F-150, because that is exactly what they need, because that's what Ford is all about, right? Chevy, same thing with the Silverado. They still offer V8s, but they offer small displacement options as well. I think Toyota looks at it more in a general, hey, we have a piece of market share of the half tons, but we're going to do this global engine situation, which they're doing with the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. It's offered in other vehicles, and we're going to go with that. And that's kind of how they go down the road, and they're going to focus on this engine. I think it would be a bad idea at this point for Toyota to change engines in the Toyota Tundra. It's had its bumps along the way since it's joined the Tundra in 2022. The engine's actually been around, I think it's been since 2017 or so. Started out in Lexus, if I'm correct. If I'm not, go down in the comments and correct me, please. But it started in the Tundra in 2022 with the new generation. We've seen a wastegate issue. That was a big deal, and they squashed that real quick. And then, of course, last year, we saw the engine recall. All right, they recalled about 100,000 engines, and the remedy is a complete engine replacement. And that had to do with machining debris when they were creating the engines. All right, so it's had a rough, bumpy start, and a lot of people aren't used to that when it comes to Toyota, because usually, you know, every new generation has its bugs, but then they get moving on down the road. To change engines now would be a bad idea. Like I said, we're 4 model years into this Toyota Tundra, and they're working the bugs out. And eventually, I think this is going to be a very reliable engine, as per what these brands have to do with staying inside that emission standards box that they're in nowadays. All right, so Toyota, because of emission standards, got off the V8. Could they have kept it? It looks like they probably could have. One of the big things I always said in my early videos when the new generation was about to come out and when it first came out, you can go back and look at this. I always felt the first few model years to kind of bring over that second generation crowd into that new generation, because everything was completely different. They should have kept a V8 option for the first couple model years. Absolutely 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, absolutely 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 iForce Max, but keep the V8 around for a couple years to kind of bring those folks over into the new generation and then worry about the emission standards and all that going forward. The emission standards are just getting tighter and tighter, okay? And that's why you saw a brand like Stellantis, Dodge, Ram, all them get rid of the V8. To me, that is the biggest news of all of this. Toyota getting rid of the V8, it is what it is. It's Toyota. That's not their focus going forward. But think of Stellantis, think of Dodge, think of the Hellcats, think of the Demon, think of all of the 5.7 Hemi V8. The entire brand is focused around the V8, and they came off of the V8 as well. Okay, so I think them staying with the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 setup they have now is a good thing to work all this stuff out and get the engine where it needs to be. I have a feeling, and this happens every single time a new generation comes up, when a new generation of Toyota Tundra, which we're still way off from, comes out, you're going to see a lot of people be like, I can't believe they got rid of the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. That kind of happened when Taco changed a few years back around 2016. People were angry about them getting rid of the 4-liter V6. So it's one of those things, but I think going forward, that's the stuff Toyota has to work on when it comes to the Toyota Tundra. Upgrade your design if that's what you feel needs to be done. Again, you guys go down in the comments and let me know. Work on the SR and the Capstone. I think that's very important. I think those are two trims that could bring a lot more attention and a lot more buyers if they did just those few little things to it. Make the Capstone unique from everything else. Very special truck, like the 1794 limited edition, and make that SR perfect for a small business owner to have all the utility the truck can give them right there, instead of having to settle and not having some stuff. Work on that SR, get it back to some of the specs of the second generation SR. It would be great. Pricing, let's hope for good deals. Let's hope for good incentives for them to continue. There's a lot more Tundras on the lots now, which is also a good thing too. When Tacoma went to Mexico, they were able to build more Tundras at TMMTX. Tundras and Sequoias are at TMMTX in San Antonio now. So you're seeing more Tundras on the lot, and you're seeing more options for you, the buyer. So that's a good thing, and that kind of stuff is where the discounts come from. So let's hope for that. And as far as the engines go, let me know what you think in the comments below. I know that'll be a hot topic, but I think they're going to keep that 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 for a very long time, and I think it's a good thing that they keep that, work out all the bugs, and make it as reliable as humanly possible in this generation of automotive that we're in today. I feel like if anyone can do it, Toyota can. If you look at all the brands, they all struggle with a lot of the quality control stuff we were talking about. A lot of them out there have engine troubles. So I think if any brand can get it where it needs to be, Toyota has a track record, a proven track record of getting stuff right when stuff is wrong and working out everything they need to do to get it where it needs to be. QDR, quality, durability, reliability, right? That's what Toyota is all about. So hopefully going down the road, this engine will be where it needs to be. But what do you think we will see on the mid-cycle refresh? There's really not much more to say. Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok at TundraDude34, TundraDude34@gmail.com. Thank you guys for watching. Again, we don't know when the mid-cycle refresh is coming, but it can't be too many years away. So now's the time to talk about what we hope is on there and what we hope stays the same. Have a great day.